Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's really nice to be here today and for everyone to be joining. Event's going to start officially in about a minute's time. We'll just give a few more people chance to arrive and get registered and set up. Then we'll do just a quick bit of housekeeping just to make sure that everybody can see and hear me. Actually, it'd be really nice to have a little thumbs up if that is the case. So if anybody's here and can give me a quick thumbs up to say that they can see and hear me, that would be wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much. Perfect. So that's our little bit of general housekeeping done and out the way. So perhaps I'll start by introducing myself. So I'm Steve Smith. I'm country manager here at Teamdash, and I've spent the last 11 years within the recruitment technology space, with the last couple of those years spent with the amazing team here at Teamdash, and it has been the most enjoyable section of my career. Now, obviously today we are going to be talking about interview scheduling. So interview scheduling is probably one of the hottest topics that comes up when I'm speaking to talent teams and recruiters all across the world. It's still one of the most painstaking, time-consuming stages of the process. And so quite rightly so, we've addressed that for our customers, and we've really helped remove the burden with using automations and some really nice integrations actually to really help remove the pain, not just for the recruitment teams, but for candidates and for hiring managers as well, because at this stage of the process is when we tend to bring multiple stakeholders in. So it's very important to us here at Teamdash that everybody that's involved in the process has an amazing experience. So I'm just going to get my screen shared. I'll just do a bit of an intro to Teamdash for those of you that don't know us. I know that there's a number of you that already do. But yeah, let's just do a very brief intro, and then I will give you a very quick kind of breakdown about how we're going to run things today. If you just bear with me. Excellent. There we go. So who are Teamdash? Well, Teamdash, as I said, is an amazing team of brilliant talents from multiple countries across the world who have all come together with a vision to create a world where recruitment and talent teams can design and create and be empowered to do all of that themselves, an amazing experience for themselves, for the candidates, and for their hiring managers. Now, we are very confident that Teamdash is the most adaptable talent acquisition software on the market. We've developed it for in-house talent teams who are handling a wide variety of roles, large candidate volumes, and often both. Because the more candidates, the more roles we have, the more complex and time-consuming the process becomes. So our tool really, as I said, just helps to really streamline everything and makes everybody's life an awful lot easier. Now, we've got a wide variety of clients all across the world from many different sectors. Here's just a very small selection. But as I say, most of our clients will have a wide variety of roles that they're working on, from very junior roles right up to very senior, or they could be working on roles where we're getting huge amounts of candidates come through. So customer service, graduate recruitment, retail manufacturing, all of these types of industries. And as I say, our clients are coming from a growing number of countries across the world. Now, a little bit about, and this is a little bit of me puffing my chest out, I guess, and just kind of telling you how proud I am of the team. So many of you will know about Net Promoter Score. Some of you may not. So a Net Promoter Score is a way in which software providers can assess how well we are doing in terms of support. Now, we've recently published an article telling everybody that we've got an amazing score of 93. And I can't understate just how amazing that is, because the scale is from -100 to +100. So this is really, really testament to our amazing support team, to everybody in the business. Really, really proud. The industry average is just 30 as well. So you are in very safe hands with the Teamdash customer support team. Now, that was then also been validated recently. And again, super, super proud that we got voted HR Solution of the Year this year by EHRS. And again, just really testament to all of the, the really hard work that the entire team has been doing here. So the best is still yet to come, though. So please stay with us, and watch our journey, because we are only just getting started. So, interview scheduling. I've posted a few articles recently about interview scheduling and some really kind of insightful statistics. So we just run through those very quickly just to set the scene, because as I mentioned, the interview scheduling stage can be one of the most time consuming, probably one of the most stressful for candidates. And so by helping to remove that pain and to make the process as seamless as possible, really, really important. So according to a recent study, we can see that 67% of recruiters have said that arranging one interview can take anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. There are exceptions. Sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it's even longer. But from my own personal experience, the average is around an hour. Now, why does it take that long? Because there's trying to phone a candidate, leaving a message, waiting for somebody to get back to you. We've got potentially hiring managers who we're waiting for availability from. So there's all of these various factors, especially when we're dealing with people, that could really extend the process. I'm going to show you how we can slash this time today. And I would really love to get some insights. In fact, we're going to be asking some questions as we run through the session today. We've got some poll questions coming up, and I'd really, really appreciate it if you could all provide some answers to that, because again, it really just helps us to kind of validate what we believe we know and the direction in which we're going in. So yeah, really appreciate your input. Now, 31% of hiring managers are still reporting difficulty finding suitable times. Now, we all know that hiring managers have day jobs, yet recruitment isn't their main priority. And so they don't perhaps they're not able to prioritize it as highly as a dedicated recruitment team. So really making sure that we can make this process as easy as possible by integrating with their diaries, by having a kind of good understanding of what's expected for them, is really just going to help the whole process. And we're going to cover how we can collaborate really effectively today. I was surprised by this one, actually, that over 50% of companies actually have a dedicated person who's solely responsible for managing interview schedules. Now, I know that's not the case for some of our customers. The recruitment team handles it. But yeah, many businesses employ somebody just to arrange interviews because it's such a time-consuming task. Now, we all know how important positive candidate experience is, and according to IBM, 38% of candidates are much more likely to accept a job offer if they've had a good experience. And again, the interview stage is one of those integral parts. If we don't get that right, it can really impact our brand, the perception of us, and how we work as a business. And finally, just to kind of put this all into context, the interview process takes up about 2/3 of the hiring time. So again, getting this right, reducing that time, making sure that recruiters aren't spending time on admin back and forth. Instead, they're spending their time speaking and building relationships is absolutely key and fundamental for us. Excellent. Okay, so now we've set the scene. We're going to jump into Teamdash and we're going to run a little workshop. The way I'm going to do this today is we're going to have a look at the various types of problems caused. We're going to talk about multiple different ways and scenarios of how we can schedule interviews, and of course, how we can really streamline this, automate it, and speed the whole interviewing process up by at least 5 times. So for those of you that haven't used or seen Teamdash, or perhaps not seen it in a little while, this is the dashboard area. And you can see that today I'm going to take on the role of a very busy recruiter who's managing multiple roles across various different areas. Now, we're going to use this sales manager role as the example today. And just as, or for the purpose of today, we're going to assume that the early stages of the process have already been done. So the receipt of applications, the pre-screening. Now, again, Teamdash can really help with that pre-screening using AI and automation. We can move people to withdrawn stage, still contact them. We can, use AI to screen the CVs, to add tags, to trigger workflow. But that's for another session on another day. We're going to start from the stage where we are now looking to collaborate with our managers. Hence why we can see the first stage that we're looking at here is our managers shortlist. Now, some of the problems with slow interview scheduling, first of all, we could be missing out on great candidates. Okay, we may have had a whole heap of application come through. We have done our pre-screening, but if it's still taking us a day, 2 days to get around to arranging interviews, that's too long. Okay, as soon as we've identified good candidates, we need to get in touch with them, get them engaged, and really advise them about what's going to happen. So how can we do that? Well, before we can schedule interviews, we need to decide who we want to interview. And as I say, generally, we're going to be doing this by collaborating with our hiring managers. So Teamdash isn't just a tool for recruitment and talent teams. It is a tool, a very easy to use tool for hiring managers as well. So we're just going to talk about some of the automations that we can have set up, which is really going to help with this collaboration. So we're at our manager's shortlist stage. We can see that we've got a number of candidates here. I've already started to kind of grade them, but now we need to let the hiring manager know that we've got some candidates for them to review. So I've actually got 3 automations set up, and in fact, there are a series of automations. First of all, we need to advise them. So we ping the hiring manager. Now, what that will do is that will send the hiring manager a very nice email notification, letting them know that we've got applicants to assess. So gone are the days of emailing over CVs, either all on one email or individually to managers that might get lost in their inbox. It's a simple notification that will come through. It's one click for the manager. They will come straight into the project, and they will only see the candidates at the stages that we've shared with them as well. Now, in addition to that, we may not want to share all of the information about candidates. We work with some clients who like to do what's called blind hiring. And so one of the pieces of AI functionality that we've got is the ability for the AI to actually generate an anonymized summary of these candidates. So you can see that, first of all, I can no longer enter the record. I can no longer see the name. So we've stripped out all personal and socioeconomic data. But what the AI is doing is it's using the candidate's CV, it's looking at the job description, and it's pulling out the most relevant points and giving us a nice little summary to tell us, whether this person could be a good fit or how close a good fit they are. So it's a really nice tool if we are doing this kind of anonymized or this blind hiring. It's a really nice way to get through multiple candidates faster than reviewing the full CV. But of course, if we are happy to share much more information with our hiring managers, we can still review the full CV, or they can still review the full CV. They can still jump into the full record and view any comments that we've written about them here. Good. Now, we've also got a reminder, because let's face it, as I mentioned earlier, hiring managers have a day job. Although they receive a nice notification, they still might not jump on it as fast as we need them to. And so we can send a reminder after a day, 2 days, 3 days. We can then send even a second reminder, or a third, or a fourth, really depending how responsive they are. Now, I speak to a lot of recruitment teams that, do have some comments about some hiring managers, not all of them, but certain hiring managers in terms of not getting back to us, because perhaps they underestimate just how important this is. And so what I've got here is an example of an urgent reminder. So this is my second reminder that is coming through to the hiring manager. And you can even set it so it copies in their manager if you want to as well, just to create that bit of urgency. But again, we're not just having to do this manually. This can happen absolutely automatically. So I've got this set to go out 3 days after these candidates have been in the stage and after the hiring manager's been notified. Okay, so loads of automations to really make sure that we're keeping everybody on top of their game so that we can get these candidates through to the next stage. Now, obviously, that next stage now is hopefully going to be interview, and managers can either drag and drop candidates into this stage themselves. We can move everybody through in one go like we've got here as well. Now, the 3 or 4 actually types of interview scheduling that we're going to cover today are pre-scheduled. So this is in the probably unlikely scenario that we've managed to get the candidate on the phone. Perhaps it's a really, really good candidate and we want to jump on this. The manager said, look, I really want to interview this person. So we've managed to get them on the phone. The manager's already told us when they're available, or they've given us the ability to pick an available slot from their diary, but we want to get this booked straight in. So we can simply either select or jump into the candidate record. We can choose to schedule interview. We're now going to add who the hiring manager is, or hiring managers, because it could be multiple. We're going to select whether this is going to be a video call. And just to let you know, we integrate with Teams, we integrate with Zoom, Google Meet, but we also have our own built-in video interview platform as well. So tons of options to cater for all of those different scenarios. And of course, if it is face-to-face, we simply turn this toggle switch off. But if it's video, we're going to insert the links automatically. Now we're checking the diaries. And again, we will integrate with Outlook, with Google Calendar. So again, two of the most common, and we can now view our hiring manager's availability. So let's just jump through to next week, and let's actually agree with the candidate that they're going to be interviewed at 10 o'clock on Monday, right? Very simple, very easy, not too dissimilar to how you might be doing it in Outlook, but the real difference comes at the next stage, because typically now in Outlook, you'd have to type an email. But of course, here in Teamdash, we can first either choose an existing template, absolutely fine. But one of the new features that we've added is our AI writing assistants. Now, this is still quite a hot topic because a lot of people I speak to are reluctant to use AI to help with writing messages. Many are already using it. I was a little bit late to the party with AI myself, but since I've started kind of playing around with it, I've realized that we don't need to use AI to write the message for us. We use AI as a tool to help us either refine our messaging, fine tune it, make it more simple language, check our spelling and grammar. So that's exactly what we've done. We haven't made AI the priority, but we've integrated it as another tool that we can use to benefit us. Because as with any tool, it can be used to be constructive and used in a positive way, or it can be destructive. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to overutilize AI. We don't want for it to be replacing what a human can do. We want it to be used as a tool to help us. So let's just show you a couple of examples. Now, if I was building this process from scratch and I didn't have any templates set up, we can actually use AI to write a nice template with a pre-written prompt that we've provided. Okay, so Teamdash knows the stage in the process. It's given us a nice prompt. We could also now fine tune and we could get a little bit more creative if we want to. So if I now ask AI to include some interview tips, very quick, very simple prompt, takes literally a couple of seconds, and it's now going to update this template that we've got in front of us. And you can see those interview tips have now been added. Now, again, the way that we've developed our AI writing assistant is that we can continue to add additional prompts. So it's not just write an email, I don't like that one, completely change it. I could now maybe include some links to Teamdash website, for example. And so we can constantly build or refine, as I say, what we use in the AI writing assistant for. And you can see that it's now added some nice links down here. Okay, so it's there as a tool to use to help save you time, to help you refine things, to fine tune things. And also as well, it's probably worth mentioning that when we're sending our interview invites, we don't just rely on an email because candidates could be working, they could have a full-time job. So we can also send an additional SMS at this point. It's going to merge in the name, so it's all going to be very personal, but they can now also book their interview directly from, or have their interview confirmed directly from receiving an SMS. Okay, so that's the first type. This is where we're on the phone, we can pre-schedule, very simple, very easy, probably the most simple way in which we can confirm. Now, as we start to get a bit more complex with maybe needing to invite multiple candidates, involving multiple hiring managers, we're going to look at our most popular interview scheduling option, which is sending out some pre-selected slots. So let's do exactly that. Let's select everybody that we've got at the interview stage. Let's choose to schedule interviews. And again, we will decide, or we will pick who our hiring managers are in this process. Again, it's syncing with the diary. We can see that we've got 6 candidates, so we need at least 6 slots to choose from. So I'm just going to pick a number of slots. In fact, we'll go for 8 just to give them some extra slots to choose from here. And as we did earlier, we can either choose a template that we've already got pre-written, we can use AI, we can write it ourselves. Very quick, very easy. Now, the beauty of this when we're sending out these pre-selected slots is, first of all, it's very quick and very simple for the candidate to actually do this, to actually select their slot. They would receive a standard email, something that they're very familiar with, and an SMS, as I mentioned. It's one click. They would then see a list of the available slots. Now, in addition to these slots being made available to our candidates, we can also choose to have these go in as tentative slots in our hiring manager's diary. You've probably all come across scenarios where you've arranged something in with the candidate. You then find out the hiring manager has double booked themselves, and so you then have to go back to the candidate. We have to reschedule. It creates a whole mess. So again, we're being proactive by putting these tentative slots in the hiring manager's diary to avoid double booking and to make sure that nobody gets upset because we have to go back in and reschedule. But the end result of this is the candidate has to click one link in an email. They choose their preferred date and time to have that now confirmed in everybody's diary. So all of the hiring managers that are involved, the candidate receives a nice confirmation, again, potentially with some interview tips, with the video link, everything. So if we look at scheduling interviews without our tool compared to with it, without, you're going to be trying to phone the candidate, leaving a message, sending an email, finding out when they're available. In parallel to that, you're going to be speaking with hiring managers to try and find out their availability, potentially having to go in and manually update hiring managers' diaries. It creates a whole world of admin. With our tool, you can see within a matter of seconds, we can get everything confirmed, everything set up, ready to go. So that was the most popular. The reason it's the most popular is because it's an amazing candidate experience, and it still provides you with an element of control over which slots you offer. Now, the third type of interview scheduling that I wanted to look at was very similar to like a Calendly type thing, where we can send out the view of a diary and allow candidates to pick any time that is available. And again, this is going to be syncing with the hiring manager's diaries. Now, very recently, we've just added a brand new automated stage action. You can see I've already got one set up here, but the brand new automated stage action of schedule interviews speeds this whole process up even more. So imagine you're a busy recruiter, talent acquisition manager, you're working on a ton of different roles, you've got candidates coming in, or we've got loads of candidates now at these stages, we've got multiple stakeholders internally from the business who are involved. Again, this could create an absolute admin nightmare. Hours and hours, days and days worth of work to get everything scheduled and set up. So with Teamdash, we can completely automate this entire process. So let's just show you exactly how this new automation works. And in fact, let's just go in and edit the existing automation that I've got set up. So as I say, this is now where candidates can pick any time that's available from a diary view. So to set this up, we simply give it a name, invite to interview. If this is really urgent, rather than me clicking a button, we can set this to happen a minute after these candidates enter the stage. So as soon as a hiring manager's chosen who they want to interview and drag and drop them in, this email is going to be sent out. It already knows who the hiring managers are in this case. We can now select which days they are able to choose from. Perhaps we have some hiring managers that aren't great on a Monday. Perhaps we know that Fridays aren't great for interviews because people don't turn up. So we can pick and choose which days we offer. The next thing we can do is pick and choose how soon they can book their interview in. Okay, so we probably wouldn't want them to book an interview on the afternoon that they receive the email, for example. It's too soon, right? So let's set it for the appropriate number of days in the future. Depending on how urgent this role is, we'll determine how many days we offer them. If this is something where, we've got 3 months to hire somebody and we really want to take our time, we might choose to increase the number of days that they can pick from. But if this is a really urgent role and we know that, we need to fill this very, very quickly and we've got a deadline, we can reduce this down to perhaps 5 days. We can choose the start times. Perhaps we don't want to start bang on 9. Let's choose from 10 o'clock. We choose our time zone. So again, we've got clients all over the world. So picking the relevant time zone for the right candidate's really quick, really easy. Interview length, whether they can pick from a full hour. And the buffer time I really, really like, because this means that if we've got multiple candidates coming in and checking diaries, we wouldn't want back-to-back interviews. Nothing worse than turning up for an interview, the previous interview overrunning. I'm getting more nervous, I'm getting more fretful, and it just throws the timeline out. So why not have a buffer of 15 minutes or even 30 minutes between when they can pick these times? Again, the next stage, we can choose a template or we can use AI. Now, I mentioned earlier that we can get really creative with AI, and I'm not suggesting that you do this, but I will just show this just to show how cool it is. So I could now say, write in the style of Bob Marley, okay, one of my favorite musicians of all time. And, you know, we can get very creative, but keep in mind that the way that we use AI it's what's called contextual. So we know everything about the candidate and what's contained in their CV. We know, and the AI knows everything about the project and the job description. So think about the type of prompts that you can use. Maybe we write something like reference the candidate's skills that are in line with the job description. Okay, so this isn't just AI taking a stab at things. It's using the context of the candidate and the job and the project itself. So this is what I mean by responsibly using AI. Okay. But again, what happens here, the candidate will receive a nice email, and this time the view is going to be slightly different. So they don't get to pick from a list of pre-scheduled slots. When they click their link, they will get the calendar view, and they can now see the availability and pick within those range of dates and times that we've given them the ability to. So here, for example, okay, the candidate can drag that around and choose to decide, now, actually, do you know what, I want to go for this time here. But you'll see that they can't pick past here because we had that level of urgency that we needed. But again, interviews now scheduled, everybody receives a confirmation, zero admin virtually for the recruiter. Now, also keep in mind that everything that I've shown you here, we've been going in and we've been editing. But once you've got your process set up with your templates and your automations, it is simply a case of dragging a candidate into a certain stage, and all of these things can be triggered. Now, again, you might decide, actually, I don't want to automate that much. That's fine. You've got complete control just how automated you get. And generally, the higher the volume of work, the more automation you should use. We obviously don't want to sacrifice the candidate experience because especially with candidates probably being very, very mindful and receiving AI generated emails all of the time. So we certainly don't want them to feel that AI has sent them an email. Hence why we've developed it in the way we can, using our company's tone of voice, links to our company's website, really keeping it in line, really keeping it very, very personal. Now, there is another type of interview scheduling in addition to those three that I've talked about, which can be used for a variety of different scenarios. Scenario number one, perhaps it's a complete nightmare to find any time for the hiring manager. They're just too busy. They haven't got a moment spare. Perhaps, you know, all of the candidates that we're working with have got full-time jobs. They can't get any time off. So it's really difficult to get a time where everybody's available. So how could we address this? Well, we could address this by utilizing our async video interviews. Now, for those of you not familiar with it, this is where we can send out either a list of questions or even make it more personal by yourselves recording a video of you asking the questions, and then allow the candidates to record their responses in their own time when it's convenient for them. The hiring managers can then review these responses in their own time when it's convenient for them. So we're accommodating for those scenarios where it's very, very difficult to find time, but we still need to find out and get a bit of an intro to the candidates. And it is an intro, okay? It's not a replacement for a live interview, but it would still help keep the process moving along. Scenario number two, perhaps we are doing graduate recruitment, okay? Now, graduates may not have an extensive CV, and so the AI summaries are not going to be perhaps as valuable. But again, what we want to do, we want to start getting an insight. We want to allow the managers to get an insight into these candidates. Now, a case study we've got is a client, KPMG. They do a lot of graduate recruitment. They were spending 20 minutes speaking to every graduate. because they had no other choice. They didn't have really a CV to go through to decide whether they had the skill set. Graduate recruitment is more about their kind of motivation, how they articulate themselves, a variety of other different things. But you're not going to have time to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes speaking to 40, 50 candidates, right? That's a couple of days work. So why not send them an async video interview? It takes literally a couple of minutes to respond. Now, just to show you a very brief example, and again, we're not going to get into too much detail, but once responses have been sent back and received, we see them directly on there. Somebody didn't get the memo about dressing smartly for their video interview. But we can now see that we've got, very succinct, concise answers to our responses saved directly on the candidate record. And there's a whole load of automations as well. So reminders, once somebody's responded, they can get progressed to the next stage. But again, this is just another option that we cater for to ensure that we can keep candidates engaged, that we can keep the process moving along, and we can get to the information that we need. Now, obviously, it's not just about scheduling the interviews. What takes a huge part of the time is actually running the interviews themselves. So once again, how can we help hiring managers here? Well, first of all, we can utilize our customizable scorecards. Okay, so this helps create some structure, some consistency to the interview process. Now, you can have scorecards set at any stage. You can have as many scorecards as you like, and you can customize the questions. Now, this is quite a very standard way. We've got a scoring between 1 and 5, which again is very simple, very easy. Of course, we can add comments or maybe type their responses down here, but it's still, I would say, semi-manual in terms of having to log the outcome or the details of the interview. Now, I'm really happy to be able to share with you all today, and I've been given authority to do this, that coming up next on our roadmap for the AI features, and it's pretty soon, I've been led to believe, we are looking at AI transcripts. So this is one of the most requested features from our customers, from prospects that I speak to, is can we use AI to transcribe video interviews, provide summaries, and really give us some deeper insights into that interview. So first of all, apologies for those of you that don't speak Estonian, but here is an example of a transcribed video interview. We can see that a summary is created. We can see that we've got the full transcript down here as well. So I haven't got an exact date. It's going to be very soon, but this is another feature that we're developing where we're responsibly using AI to help save our customers even more time. So if you want more information, if you're an existing customer, feel free to get in touch with your account manager on that. Or if you're somebody that's not used Teamdash and you're interested to find out more about that as well, then please do get in touch. I'll be very, very happy to help. So yeah, just a little sneak peek there. Now, after the interview, we are going to have an outcome. Either it's going to be a successful interview or perhaps it's unsuccessful. And so just to kind of wrap up the process, or this stage of the process, we're going to talk about how we can utilize automations and again, potentially AI here. So let's assume that we've had a successful interview with Endrick. In fact, let's not assume. I know that it would be a successful interview with Endrick because he's amazing. So we've got two actions set up here. We have got our successful interview email, which is going to go out, and I will again just give you a preview of what that looks like. Now, this is where I actually used AI to help write this because it was much faster. But again, you don't need to. You can have an existing template. But for those customers that are brand new to ATS that don't have templates, jumping on board with Teamdash and getting it set up is so fast and so easy because we've got all of this writing assistance there now available. Now, again, we don't want the candidate to necessarily know that it's AI. So here, for example, we are absolutely thrilled. I could do something as simple as, say, swap the word we for I. Okay, now, of course, I could go in and I could edit that myself, but I like to play with the tools. But you can see it's now just changed the context. It's made it much more personal. Now, I've also got a referee entry form set up here, because if somebody's had a successful interview in this context, the next stage may be to then ask for references. So within one fell swoop, i.e. this email template going out, we're contacting the candidate, we're advising them, and I've got it set for an hour. You might want it to be a day, but we're advising them straight away that they've had a successful interview. Okay, if they were a great candidate, we want to let them know. We don't want to keep them hanging. We want that to happen very quickly. What we then want to happen very quickly is the candidate being moved to the relevant stage. So in this example, they're being sent a link to enter their referees. Once they've entered their referees, they will automatically get moved to the reference check area, where their referees will automatically be emailed and sent a form to provide their references. Okay, so we can really remove so much time at any of the stages of the process that it's reasonable to. Okay, I don't want to talk about automation so much that everybody should just rely on it, because we shouldn't. We should use it where it's reasonable to. We should still be very personal. And where we should definitely be very personal, and where I wouldn't recommend using AI, is if somebody has had an unsuccessful interview. Because first of all, if they've taken the time to get ready to turn up for an interview, we don't just want to send them an AI generated rejection email. Okay, we probably want to offer to phone them. And so that's how I've got things set up here. Now I'm going to pick on Pavo here. Sorry, Pavo. But if we had an unsuccessful interview with Pavo, again, you can see we've got two actions set up. We've got our unsuccessful interview email, which is going to email them, offer a phone call. And we could use AI to help us write this in a very empathetic way, but I would keep it quite vague and just ask for a follow-up call on interview feedback, for example. But then what I've also got is I can have it automatically moving them to the withdrawn stage, so that we can keep things nice and tidy. We're still going to have our call. We're still going to get some feedback. We could email links out to get candidate feedback as well. But, we're keeping things moving. We're keeping our focus on the people that we are able to move forward with, while still providing a great candidate experience, even to those that have been unsuccessful as well. Now, of course, while all of this is happening, Teamdash does a really good job of tracking everything that's going on. So we can see, for example, linked directly with the project, how many candidates we have at each stage. It's starting to calculate our time to hire. If we are asking for candidate feedback, it's going to calculate our candidate net promoter score. We can see which of the sources or any of these other criteria that we can group by are being moved through the process. We can even see the candidate journey. We can see why candidates are dropping out. And it just allows us to keep a real-time check on what's working, what's not working, where we need to change things, where we need to add more automation if there's time delays, where we need to maybe pull back on the automation if the candidates don't feel like they're getting a good enough candidate experience. But it's always about asking for feedback, fine-tuning, refining the process. Unless we're getting every single candidate say that they had an amazing experience and we're hitting all of our deadlines, all of our targets, we should never stop trying to improve things. And so that's where Teamdash really helps our end users, is that constant fine tuning to make sure that we get the right blueprint, the right formula in place. Now, that brings us to the end of the session today, the workshop. Obviously, I would love the opportunity to speak to people, to do a much more kind of dedicated session whereby we can find out all of the little nuances about how you approach interview scheduling. We can look at the various different scenarios, but I really hope that that's given you a flavor as to just how much we can cater for, just how much time we can save. And again, perhaps it's probably worth just putting things into context. When I speak to people, talent teams and recruiters, they tell me that interview scheduling is probably the most time-consuming and painful part. We know that it can take up to an hour to arrange an interview with one single candidate. So you multiply by that by 5, by 10, multiply that by 5 roles for one recruiter. We've got days worth of work there. What I've just shown you is how we can really automate the things which can and should be, how we can utilize automation and AI to actually improve candidate experience, and how we can now free up your time to be building relationships, whether that's with hiring managers, whether that's with candidates, and not spending all of that time on admin. Now, we have got some time now to answer some questions, so please do feel free to shoot any questions across. I'm just going to double check to see whether we've got anything in there. There is a questions tab, by the way, so if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to pop them in there or in the chat. And of course, if we don't get round to answering anything right here and now, then I will respond to everybody with a follow-up. I do hope that everybody's managed to jump on the polls and add their insights and add their feedback there. It was really, really valuable for us. And I'll happily share the results with everybody in terms of those polls as well. So yeah, please do engage with that, because it's not just valuable for us, but it's valuable to you as a community as well to see, you know, are you in line with your peers? Sometimes it makes you feel great. Oh, do you know what? It isn't just me. But yeah, it will hopefully give you some really, really nice insights there. Okay, so we've just had a question in from Joy. So when it comes to sending out the references form, does it pull the references out from the candidates form? Absolutely, Joy. So what would happen is, in fact, let me see if I've got an example to show you here. So let's just come in here and let's search referee. So what we will do is we will send a link to the candidate where they can then provide, and let's just drag this up here, they can provide their referee details. Yeah. As soon as they've submitted those referee details, they will get logged on the candidate record. That will initiate the email to the referee. So it will contact them with a customizable form with a nicely worded email. The referee simply clicks one link in that email to fill out their reference. So they're not having to deal with a Word document as an attachment, for example. So we can completely automate the entire process of the candidate being asked for the referee details, to the referee being emailed, and then having those references logged directly back on the candidate record without you needing to lift a finger. So really, really nice time-saving feature if you are actively collecting references. Next question that we've got to come through: how do you delete the interview scheduled in the system to give this time to another candidate? So if I've understood that correctly, so you can manage. So that's probably one thing worth pointing out, actually, is if we're sending out potential slots for candidates to pick, and we're adding those as tentative slots to a hiring manager's diary, it would be the responsibility of the recruiter, the hiring manager, to delete any tentative slots that haven't been picked. But of course, candidates, hiring managers can choose if they're not available. So for example, let me just show you here. If we go back to the email that I showed earlier, let's just get rid of this. Okay. So this one here, the tentative slot, when the hiring manager receives this, they're able to decline the invitation from any of those tentative slots as well. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, of course, you can manage interviews. You can go in, you can delete slots, providing they haven't been selected. Once a slot has been selected and a confirmation has been sent out, we can't then just go back and undo that. That's reliant on the candidate choosing to reschedule, and we can then go in and override it. So another quick question from Joy: do you have to make the second form too, or Teamdash has a reference form? We've got example forms for you already, Joy. So we've got professional, we've got a detailed professional reference, we've got a basic professional reference, basic personal reference, and a detailed personal reference. They're already there, they're set up, so you can choose to use those pre-built forms, or you can go in and customize and create any additional ones that you want to as well. Okay, so again, this leads right back into the fact that Teamdash is the most adaptable software out there, but we're always still trying to help you by giving you some examples, some pre-built things to give you that really good head start. But we always urge people to really kind of make it their own. Excellent. Okay, well, look, I've really enjoyed that session, actually. I hope you have too. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not already. I think my link has been added. If not, yes, it has. So just above the questions, a link to my LinkedIn profile is there. But also there's a link that if you did want to jump on to have a personalized demo, to find out a little bit more, either about interview scheduling or any of the other functionality that we've got, then I'd really, really welcome that. And yeah, really, really look forward to speaking and meeting with many, many more of you. But I hope it was a good session. I'm still reveling in the joy that England are now through to the final of the Euros. It was slightly unexpected, but we've got an amazing team, and it seems like the manager's now on board as well. So yeah, another one of those scenarios where managers were letting us down, but they've now been brought back on board. So yeah, look, everyone have a great rest of the day. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. And I very much hope that we can speak soon. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.